Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking a plunge into something really important for, well, anyone looking to truly master English. We're talking about building genuine fluency through consistent practice. Our mission today, to figure out what it really means to speak like water. Fluid, effortless, natural, that moment, right? Even if you're pretty good, sometimes your words just don't flow. You might hesitate or search for that perfect phrase. It feels like you're playing mental Tetris sometimes just to make a sentence. It's a common hurdle for sure. But this deep dive, we're hoping, will show you not just how to clear it, but how to glide right over it.
Yeah, and our guide for this, the source material, it's this incredibly insightful piece on language acquisition. It really emphasizes the how-to, not just the what. So we're not just going to list tips. We're going to explore the core mechanics of fluency and arm you with strategies, actual things you can do, integrate into your daily life, like starting right now, to really transform how you speak.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When we talk about fluency, most people jump straight to perfect grammar or, knowing tons of words. But what does fluency really mean, according to this guide? Is chasing perfection actually maybe getting in the way?
That's a great question. And what's truly fascinating, and something our source makes very clear, is that fluency is fundamentally about speaking smoothly, without those long, kind of awkward pauses. It's less about getting every single thing perfect and much more about flow. Think of it like, a river. It doesn't stop and worry if every drop is perfectly placed, right?
Yeah.
It just keeps moving.
Yeah.
Your brain, when it's fluent, it prioritizes the message, the rhythm, over checking every little grammatical detail, which actually reduces the mental load, makes it easier to process naturally. Mistakes, they're okay. Honestly, they're part of learning. What really matters is that consistent, confident stream.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. Think about how we speak our first language. Do you always use perfect grammar? Do you never stumble or rephrase something? Of course not. We speak naturally. We make little slips, but the communication, it flows. So the goal here isn't to be a working dictionary or some kind of grammar robot. It's about achieving that same confidence, that rhythm, clarity. It's about connection, really, not just correction. Okay, so if we're aiming for that flow, that effortless feel, how do we start? Where do we begin building that foundation? Our source talks about the power of having a practical conversational toolkit, focusing on specific phrases, a kind of vocabulary of the day. Phrases that sort of oil the wheels of conversation, make things smoother.
Exactly. The guide details 5 incredibly useful expressions, things that can immediately help you sound more natural, and they give you a bit of thinking time to keep the conversation moving. Okay, first one. To be honest, this is great when you want to say what you really think, but, politely, to be honest, I didn't quite get that movie even the second time.
Right.
Okay.
Then there's that makes sense. You use this when something clicks, shows you're engaged, you're following. For example, oh, okay, now I see why they changed the plan. That makes sense.
Good one.
And a really flexible one?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it's a fantastic way to show your thinking or to offer an opinion without being totally certain. You could say, I'm not sure, but I think the meeting's at 10:30, not 10.
Yeah, that takes the pressure off a bit.
Totally. Next. You know what I mean? This is a little conversational hook. You're checking if they understand, inviting them to agree. It's kind of like learning to ride a bike. You fall off, but then it just clicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I use that one a lot.
And finally, let me think. This is your natural pause button. Good. So much better than just silence or long. Let me think. All right. My keys. I left them in the car.
Okay, those are really practical. And the guide's advice on these, it's not just about saying them, it's about how you say them. Something about adding emotion. Exactly. That's the key insight. It's not just mechanical repetition. The magic happens when you add emotion. Why? Well, it's not just rote learning. It's about building stronger connections in your brain. When you put real feeling into a phrase, maybe surprise, uncertainty, agreement, your brain marks it as more important. Makes it much easier to recall and use automatically when you're actually talking. That's how these little phrases become part of your natural speech.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. We're moving from just, learning phrases to actually using them actively. Our source introduces this powerful exercise they call it the 2-minute challenge. So where you, the listener, you actually practice speaking.
Yeah.
out loud, like taking your English for a quick jog.
Yeah, this method is super direct and really effective. It's all about answering specific questions out loud. And the critical part here isn't just listening to us talk about it. It's about you physically making the sounds, saying the words. The more you activate those speaking muscles, the more natural, the more automatic your responses become. It's just like building strength in the gym.
All right, so we've got 3 challenge questions for you. Try to imagine you're really talking to someone. And don't worry about perfection. Lean on those helpful starting tips. Maybe use some of the phrases we just talked about. Ready? Okay, question 1. What do you usually do after work or school? You could maybe start with, to be honest, I usually just relax and maybe watch something on YouTube for an hour or so. Try saying something like that now. Okay, next one. Describe your favorite food. Why do you love it? How about starting with? I guess my favorite food is ramen, probably because the broth is just amazing. Your turn. And the third question, what's one goal you have for learning English? You try something like, well, I'm not sure, but I think I really want to speak more naturally, especially when I'm talking in a group. Go for it.
The core message here, it's so important for that natural flow. The more you speak, the easier it gets. It really is. It's just like building any muscle. Consistency is absolutely key. Don't worry if it's not perfect right away. Just keep going for those 2 minutes. That steady, active practice, that's how you build real confidence. That's how you start to speak like water.
So we've started getting comfortable speaking, individual sentences, using those phrases. But what happens when you're actually in a conversation? Back and forth. Our guide moves on to that next, tackling how to make those exchanges feel really authentic, really natural. They call it real talk dialogues.
This real talk idea, it's a brilliant way to internalize the rhythm, the cadence of natural speech. It's not just what you say, but how you say it. That back and forth, the intonation, the little pauses. These aren't big formal speeches. They're the small, everyday chats that make up, well, most of our conversations.
Okay, let's walk through a quick example from the source. Just picture 2 friends bumping into each other. A says, hey, long time no see. B replies, yeah, it's been a while. How have you been? A, pretty good, just busy with work. You, B, same here. Let me think. It's been, 3 months maybe?
Right. See, practicing little exchanges like that, these short, natural dialogues, that's exactly how you start to sound truly native-like. It's about getting comfortable with that give and take, anticipating responses, mastering those little conversational cues that make communication just flow.
And now, for something the guide calls the fluency tip of the day, which sounds like a really powerful mental shift, a potential game changer.
Yeah, and the tip itself is elegantly simple. Don't translate, visualize. This is incredibly effective because think about it, instead of your brain trying to translate word for word from your native language, which is what causes those frustrating pauses, you picture what you want to say directly in English.
So like if you're talking about your day, you wouldn't be mentally translating, I went to the shop, then I cooked dinner. Instead, you'd actually picture the scene. You walking into the shop, picking things up, then you in the kitchen cooking.
Exactly.
But what about, more abstract stuff, like discussing philosophy or explaining a project? How do you visualize that?
That's a good point. The source suggests that even there you can picture the impact or the feeling or maybe the connections between ideas, like a little mental map or flowchart. It still builds that mental bridge to fluency rather than getting stuck translating individual abstract words.
Right, okay.
And what's really fascinating here is how this mental shift directly affects the speed and the flow of your speech. Visual thinking just helps you speak more freely, more quickly. It bypasses that clunky word-by-word translation process. It actually trains your brain to think in English, not just convert from another language. And that right there is a hallmark of real fluency.
Wow, okay. We've covered so much ground today in this deep dive. We started by sort of redefining fluency, seeing it as this beautiful flow, not rigid perfection, emphasizing confidence, rhythm. Then we gave you that practical toolkit, those 5 key expressions to weave into your daily talk. We pushed you a bit with the 2-minute challenge, urging you to actually speak out loud, activate those muscles. And we looked at mastering conversations with real talk dialogues, plus that big mental shift. Don't translate, visualize.
Yeah, and if we tie it all together, connect it to the bigger picture, our guide comes back to this really crucial principle: consistency beats intensity. It really argues quite passionately, actually, that practicing just a little every single day, maybe only 10 minutes, can lead to much bigger, more sustainable gains in fluency than, cramming for hours sporadically. Those daily, consistent habits. That's truly the secret, it seems, to unlocking that effortless flow.
So the encouragement for you is to take these insights and just apply them. Start small, maybe. Be consistent. And try to enjoy the process. Enjoy becoming a more fluid, more confident English speaker. And we'll leave you with this thought from the material, something to carry forward. Keep speaking, keep smiling, and let your English flow.